And I procrastinated because I often still I face plant in my old story of I have nothing to say.
Hello, you are listening to the Late Bloomer Living podcast, where we are reimagining and redefining what it means to be in midlife, where we are gathering energy, momentum, and excitement for our next chapter via candid conversations with other midlifers about their own pivots, pitfalls, and triumphs. I'm Yvonne Marchese, your host, and I'm so happy you're here. So I did a thing in June of this year that I would have found unimaginable a couple of short years ago. I started thinking about taking my message about midlife reinvention beyond the podcast and out into the world. Yeah, I can't even believe I'm saying it right now, but I decided I wanted to become a speaker. Seriously, you have no idea how much public speaking freaks me out. Even with my theater training, I've always been terrified of getting in front of an audience to share my own personal thoughts. So, in the early spring, I joined a course that was being taught by Johanna Walker, and 6 weeks later, I had written and delivered my talk for the first time. It was crazy and fun. Well, as I got to know Johanna better, I realized that she has a great midlife reinvention story herself. So I invited her onto the podcast to tell her story of becoming a speaking coach and storytelling expert at the age of 49. And we talked about how opening her own business forced her to grow in ways that she couldn't have even imagined. I can't wait for you to meet her. So without further ado, here's Johanna Walker. Hey, Johanna. Thank you so much for being with me.
I'm delighted.
I'm so excited. I always like to say how I met people, and I was thinking back to the first time I met you in What Works. And was it in a Monday huddle?
It was in a Monday huddle, yeah.
It was, right? And I remember you asked for volunteers to come be your practice audience for a webinar you were going to host. It was like was that your first webinar ever, or?
I think it was my first one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I ended up going, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. But I wasn't even, I think I said yes just because I could tell you needed some help. You know what I mean? You were like, I really need an audience, and I've got the webinar, and it's tomorrow or the day after. And,
right.
So I was like, oh, geez. So, and I had the time. So I showed up along with a few other people, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I noticed you were doing it again, and went ahead and thought, oh, I'll check in and see where it's come, because I think it was the same webinar basically.
Yeah.
And you had maybe done it a couple of times by then. And then I was like, oh, that is interesting. And by that point, I was actually starting to think about doing some speaking.
Right.
Which 2 years ago, 3 years ago, no way in hell. No. So interesting the way you come into my life.
Yeah. It was great. Yeah, I remember you were very helpful.
Was
as
I?
an audience member, I was
good.
Just like, I had never done that before, of like having that's not really true. I did it for my Tedx talks. I had a bunch of practice audiences.
Yeah.
For my Tedx talk,
but different, right?
Like,
because you were trying to figure out the tech, you were trying to figure out slides and timing and all that extra, right? Yeah. It looked really scary. I've never held any kind of a webinar or anything like that.
It's really different. It's really different from speaking.
Yeah.
It's really different from speaking. You have to just such a different energy and a different dynamic, and you don't get the energy from the audience. So you gotta kind of generate it yourself, and you gotta keep your eye on the camera, not the
Yeah.
screen,
Right.
and so it's disorienting. And I've definitely gotten better at it since, the last 2 years
Yeah,
doing
I
it.
mean, really, like from the first one, there was a lot. I know you were still figuring out a lot of the tech, I could tell that you were like, and I was like, oh, I wonder how it went. I don't even think I got to ask you afterwards how that first one went, but watching you the second time around, I was like, man, she's got this down now, you know? So
Yeah.
that was cool. Very cool. And then you talked me into doing your course. I was like, oh, I don't have time. This isn't a good time to do it. Typical me.
I prefer, rather than talk to you into it, I prefer like opened the door and show, like pointed you towards the thing that you want.
You did. You did. And I'm so grateful that you did it. I mean, you did it in such a generous, great way. And I'm so grateful that you did, because what the timing of me taking your class. So just for anybody listening, the class that, well, you described your class.
It's craft your talk, and I take people from seed to stage, from the seed of your idea to get clear about the idea you want to be known for, and then we develop the talk, find the stories, build the arc, and then at the end of the course you get to deliver the talk.
I knew you could say that so much better than me. And so when I was looking at your webinar, I was like, oh, I'd love to do that. That looks amazing. It's exactly what I need right now. But it was the spring, as we were coming out of the COVID shutdown and people were starting to have their vaccinations in them and all that stuff. And my photography business was picking up like crazy, like, because I guess there was a pent up demand for people that hadn't been able to get their headshots done in over a year,
Right.
and family stuff and all kinds of things. Businesses needed things. So I was like, I just I don't even know how I could do it, you know? And, I realize now that, if I hadn't done it, it was 6 weeks, right? And if I hadn't done that program with you, there is no way in hell that I would have a talk now.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have happened. I'd still be thinking about it.
Right.
Crazy. So thank you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. When you have the date on the calendar, and the support, the accountability, the next step. I hear
Yeah.
that so often. It's like, yeah, I wrote my talk. I got the dang talk written, because it's been
Yeah.
on. It's something for a lot of people. It's something that's on their list. Like, yeah, I want to speak. Yeah, I want to speak. But taking that step is like, how do I do it? How do I craft the talk? I got other things to do. I'm busy. I'm distracted.
Yeah. Crazy.
So, yeah,
Anyway, it kind of almost sounds like we're on a sales thing right now. So I want to back
yeah,
up,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
I want to go to your story and hear about what you did to start your business, because you did it when you were 50. Is that right?
I was 50, maybe 49. I
Uh-huh.
can't quite remember.
Yeah. So give us a little bit of your background before you went into Johanna, Johanna 2.0, would you call it?
Yeah. My background. I was a starving artist. In junior high, I was interviewed in junior high, in the junior high like newspaper that was like mimeographed and copied and sent around to the students. Somebody interviewed me for some reason. I don't remember why, but they said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I was like, "I want to be a starving artist."
That's hilarious. What? Who says that? That's just what ends up happening. But,
I thought that they went together. I just thought they automatically went together.
Well,
I
you
didn't
know
know
what?
there were any other options.
That is such a good point, because really that's the truth. we do
Yeah.
think that that goes together, and even though I may not have, because me too, hello, raising my hand as a theater person, um it's almost like you take a vow of poverty, and
Yeah.
or any money that I ever made turned around and got reinvested into headshots and whatever I needed to do, going out.
Mhm.
Going out was networking, right, back in the day, and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, crazy.
So I was just kind of in my living my fate as a starving artist and just accepting that and just thought that this is my lot in life. I'm going to be an artist and I'm going to live hand to mouth and scramble. The other
Was it
part of that
theater,
story,
or was it what
it
was your
was
art?
originally it was painting. I was a painting
Ah,
major in college and I lived in New York City and I was an apprentice for an artist and
wow.
worked in an art gallery and waitressed and did that stuff. And then I
Mm-hmm.
started doing dance and theater and was always a writer, so I was very multidiscipline. I was
Hmm.
a and I think where I started getting more serious about being an artist was as a writer and performer.
Mm-hmm.
And I did solo theater and did dance and movement theater and painted houses. I was a receptionist, I was a waitress, and I just thought that was the way it was going to be. And the other part, the other disempowering story, message, like one was I was going to be a starving artist, and two, like I'm going to get married and I'm going to get a husband to take care of me. So I don't really have to figure
Mm.
out my money thing because I'm going to get married and a husband is going to take care of me.
Mm.
And that didn't happen. I didn't find that husband,
Yeah. And I'll
and
tell
I
you, even as somebody who's married, we both, it's not like, I mean, he makes more money than I do now, but we've switched off, like, or been, we both needed to work for the most part. So it's
yeah.
amazing. Like and I too, I have to say, I think I shared the idea that maybe somebody might take care of me, but so you had to, wow. So you
It
had
was
to come
deep.
to,
That was deep. That message got in deep, you
yeah,
know, got
yeah.
in deep. And so it was kind of by accident. So yeah, then I was leading community groups. I led a group of teenage adolescent girls doing writing and performance. I worked in a senior center with senior adults doing storytelling. I worked in a jail with women in jail
Wow.
telling stories and creating performances. So I did a lot of great community arts work,
Yeah.
and then somehow made my way, somehow made a living with painting houses and doing admin work. And I stopped waitressing finally. That was really hard on my body. And
Yep. That is hard work.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I was 50, I went to grad school. I got an MFA in theater in sort of like follow your bliss and don't be afraid and doors will open where you didn't know there would be doors. So I like went into deep debt to get an MFA in contemporary performance,
Mm-hmm.
which was like, okay, if I follow my bliss, the doors are going to open and all my debt is going to be, all my student loans are going to be paid because I'm following my bliss. And I graduated with an MFA and a massive debt.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, where are all those doors?
Right.
You know?
That's the hard thing about theater is there's no ladder. There's no like check this box, check this box like there are in some other
Yeah.
career paths. It
And I
is,
didn't.
right?
Yeah, I wasn't even doing mainstream theater. My degree was in contemporary performance. It was like devised theater, solo theater. It wasn't like,
Ah.
going and doing a play with a regional theater company. It was
Did
like
they teach
creating.
you anything about business when you were there?
No.
Right? That's such a
No.
lacking thing in programs like that. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. So there you
Yeah.
are, flapping in the
So I
wind,
had some
right?
good experiences. I made some art. I made a solo show. I had some great teachers, met people. But then when I graduated, I was like, I got to figure out how to make some money,
Yeah.
you know? And that was when I was teaching a solo performance class. and one of my students was invited to give a TEDx talk. And this was before TEDx was like a household name. It was before
Mm-hmm.
TEDx was just ubiquitous. And I was like, oh, she asked me if I could help her. Because I had spent, I was mostly teaching and directing solo theater.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, sure, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know anything about the speaking world, but okay. And I helped her, and it was like, whoa, that was fun. And she paid me. She paid me $50 an hour, and that was more than I'd ever made, you
Wow.
know.
Yep.
And I was like, I can do this. I could hang my shingle and be a public speaking coach. Oh, I was actually doing prerequisites for nursing school at the time.
Were you?
Yeah.
Wow.
And when I had this idea to be a public speaking coach, I honestly thought I could I was like, oh, well, that'll be a great way to make money while I'm going to nursing school.
Yeah.
Because
I
I had
could
no
totally
idea
see
what it
that.
actually meant to run a business.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
No idea, you know. I thought I could say, I'm a public speaking coach, and then I would have a full roster of clients, and that would be it. I had no clue about sales and marketing at all. Like zero clue. I had zero clue.
I feel ya. I was the same way with photography. Same. Bought my big
It's
fancy camera,
right.
got myself into, did a little study from home program, started little bits here and there. I was working a full-time job, picking up little gigs, little family sessions, little headshot sessions. I was working, I was getting paid, but I
Yeah.
had no clue how to build a business and no
Yeah.
clue how to charge an amount that was sustainable to run a business.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, right? Mm.
Yeah. Really amazing. So I reached out to a friend who he had gone through the same theater program as I had. He lived in the Bay Area, had a business as a public speaking coach, and I just called him up and said, "Hey, what have you figured out? I want to do this." And he said, "Oh yeah, actually, thinking of taking my business is going great. I'm thinking of taking on mentees and having trainers in my program."
Nice. Okay.
And I thought, oh, and he was like, "I'll take you on as like as a beta mentee and show you the ropes." So I spent 6 months working with him, showing me how he used our theater training to support speaking on stage and the basics of building a business,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And there was a point where we were working together and he said, "Okay, now you're going to have to go speak. You're going to have to go get a speaking gig." And I was like, "Wait, what are you talking about? I'm not a speaker. I can help people speak, but I'm not a speaker. I have nothing to say." I mean, I literally, honestly, came as a total
Oh my
surprise to
God.
me.
I
Total
I can totally
surprise.
imagine, like, my heart is seizing up, right?
Total
Ah,
surprise that I would have to go speak. I was like, no, no, no. I don't have any. I have nothing to say that's worthy of a stage. What are you talking about?
right.
No, if you're gonna do this, you got to get on stage and speak. And I was just like utterly terrified.
Right.
And the other
Because,
thing that happened
well,
was,
but funny enough, I mean, you were writing one woman shows, right?
yeah, yeah. Oh, I was
Did it
comfortable
feel
on.
that different to you to move from
Yeah,
a theatrical type setting to just a straight up speaking setting? It felt that
yeah,
different, huh?
because what it was for me was it busted up against my smart stuff. It was
Mm.
like, I am an artist. I can tell a story. I can get on stage and be an artist, but to claim authority, to
Mm-hmm.
to like claim authority that I could speak my thinking rather than just like
Mm.
share my creativity. I could share my creativity. I was comfortable on stage as an artist, but to be on stage as an expert,
Oh my God. Are you in my
to
head,
share
Johanna?
own my authority. What?
You're in my head. You're in
Yeah,
my head. That is exactly my challenge. Oh my
that was
gosh.
it. To
Crazy.
get on stage as an expert and claim
Yeah.
authority was a massive leap.
Hmm.
Massive leap.
Wow. So how did you
So,
overcome that?
well, I gotta I think it was like the next day. It was kind of a magical thing that the universe gave me. That weekend, I think it was the same week I had that conversation with Jonathan. I was at a marketing workshop in Boulder, and one of our assignments was to give a Twitter pitch to be able to say what we do in 140 characters. And I toiled
Oof.
over this. I toiled and toiled and toiled and got it down to 140 characters. And the next day I spoke it. And I had presence because I'd been on stage. I could
Sure,
speak
you've
once
got
I
that
knew what I
training,
was going
right?
to
You can
say.
bring that. Right.
Yeah, I could totally bring that.
Yeah.
And once I knew what I was going to say, boom, I nailed it. And I did that Twitter pitch and I nailed it. And somebody came up to me afterwards and said, "Do you speak to groups? I think you'd be great for our networking group." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure. That's great. I'll do it all the time." And then I went home and like hung my head over the toilet in terror.
I'm freaking out for you right now. Oh my God. Oh boy.
So
So then what happened?
my goal was to just make it through that talk, and I did. And because and I definitely leaned on my skills as a theater performer. I knew how to be on stage and be in front of a room, and
Mm-hmm.
it went great. It went great. I survived, and people
What
liked it.
did you talk about that time? Do you remember?
I told my story about being afraid of speaking and how, so part of it was story.
Yeah.
I talked about, I did it, you know what I did? It was very interactive. I kind of did it more like a workshop because
Mm.
I was comfortable teaching.
Mm.
I was
Mm-hmm.
comfortable teaching. So it was like I got people on their feet and kind of led a workshop.
Okay.
Yeah. So it didn't, so it was fun. It was fun and people liked it.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh, maybe I can
And
do
then I
this.
just,
Did that
yeah,
happen?
then I think started getting more speaking opportunities and learning more about how to craft a talk and how to craft a talk that converts. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just my own study and practice then after that.
Wow. And then you've done 2 TEDx talks or more?
I did a TEDx talk and I did a TED style talk, kind of a
Oh,
TED style,
okay.
not an official TEDx event, but it was TED style. And that was early on. That was another terrifying moment when I was invited to do that talk, maybe a year into my business. I was invited to give that talk.
Was that the TED style talk or the
That
actual
was the TED
TEDx?
style talk.
TED
Yeah,
style talk. Gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah.
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that was the talk about not having children, which was a very,
Oh my
very
gosh.
personal
It was
journey,
really moving.
personal.
Yeah.
So that emboldened me when I gave that talk. That emboldened me because it was like, oh, I can be real. I can be myself. I can do what I do. I can tell a story and I can move people. So that talk was really, and I was terrified to give that talk.
I can
Terrified.
only imagine how to, because you put it out there with that talk.
Yeah.
You laid yourself bare in that
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah. I was writing that talk in the dressing room before 20 minutes before. I was finishing the talk in the dressing room 20 minutes before I gave it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I for weeks was toiling it over and I couldn't, like, how do I write a talk? I have no idea. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to do this. I was banging my head against the wall. And then the talk was on a Saturday night. On Friday night, I sat down and just like wrote it. And then I had to like learn it and memorize it and get it in my body. And I was still, so I remember sitting in the dressing room still like just like piecing it together.
I don't think I can do that like 20 minutes before. I need to know. Wow.
I
Wow.
do not recommend it. I definitely don't recommend it.
Oh my
I
goodness.
don't recommend it. But
Wow.
once and I've told this story many times, is that it was when I really wanted to bail. I really wanted to bail.
Yeah.
And even standing backstage before I gave that talk, I wanted to bail. I was considering just like walking away.
What'd you do to make
And
yourself go out there?
I realized, I said to myself, there's somebody in the audience. If there's one person in the audience who needs to hear this talk today, I'm going to give it for her.
Mm.
Because in the talk, I speak about Jody Day, a woman she
Remind
has
me.
become a Jody Day. She how do I say this? She works with women without children, and she has been a
Mm.
leader as for women without children who either wanted children or chose not to have children, but to
Right.
have another. No, I think her focus is women who wanted to have children and didn't, and
Mm-hmm.
really supporting them in creating an abundant life without children. Like, what's their plan B? And so I had heard her speak, and it was the first time. It was when I was still really processing this, not having had children, and I heard her talk, and it saved my life. It was just like,
Wow.
oh, I'm not alone. Like, there's a whole community of other women who've had this. I was so grateful for her talk. I was
Mm.
so grateful to hear her speaking publicly, because for me, it had been such a private journey.
Right.
It had been so private and shameful. It was like something I didn't want to speak about because of the expectation and the culture and the disappointment and all that people would pin on me. And so it had been very private, certainly within my close circles of friends, but it wasn't something I was going to be public about. But when I heard her talk, it was just like, oh my God.
It's
That,
amazing the power of sharing that kind of thing with people. It's
yeah. And
amazing
so
what we can do
I
for each other.
I know. And that was so it was thinking of her, how impactful her talk had been to me, that I was like, okay, there's somebody in the audience who needs to hear this today.
Mm.
And so I'm going to get on stage for her. I'm getting a little choked up saying this
I am too.
because it was like so real for me. It was so real. My fear was so real of exposing this vulnerability, this incredibly vulnerable, tender place in my heart. And and to expose that was so terrifying, but then to consider the possibility that it could make a difference in somebody's life.
What happened afterwards? Did you I mean, Brene Brown talks about the vulnerability hangover. I don't know if you've heard
Yeah.
her talk about that, but did you feel a sense of release and lightness afterwards? Or did you feel like, oh, holy crap, I just put that out in the world? I'm going to
Yeah,
go
I think
hide under my pillow. Like,
I don't remember having a vulnerability hangover.
mm-hmm.
I don't think I did. I got really great feedback that night. I got great feedback that night from people who were in the audience thanking me,
Yeah, I bet.
and so it was like, oh, I do have something to say.
Mm.
So it was very significant for me to give that talk.
Wow.
And then since, and still, it's on YouTube, and I still occasionally, certainly the first year or two, I shared it with Jody Day. She was very moved and touched by it, and she shared it with
Oh,
her community.
wow.
And so the talk has been out there among this community of women without children, and it's touched a lot of people. And I've had people I get emails from people saying thank you, and this helped me. I shared this with my family because I haven't been able to explain my experience,
Oh my
and
gosh.
so it's really amazing for me to get that feedback.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Amazing. That's when I mean, yeah, that what other reason to do anything, right?
Yeah.
Than to have that kind of impact. Amazing. What happened afterwards? What was the trajectory then?
I just kept plugging along in my business. At
Yeah.
that point, I I think, like I said, that was emboldening. So that story that I came in with of I have nothing to say. What would I get on stage and say? You know, when Jonathan first said, you got to go out and speak now. To rewrite that story in my own mind was huge.
I love that you just said to rewrite that story in your own mind. That is the nut of what I think needs to happen for all of us in midlife is that we need to
Yeah.
rewrite our stories, you know,
Yeah.
because we've all got something, some version of it, you
Yeah.
know, that
Yeah.
keeps us from doing the thing that our intuition is telling us to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much. Yeah, there's so much more that is possible. There's so much more that's possible when we're willing to rewrite those stories because we get so attached. We get so attached to those stories. We
Oh, we
believe
got
them to
evidence.
own.
We've got
Right.
years
Decades of
of
evidence.
evidence, right?
Decades of evidence.
Decades,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's real. It must be true,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. How did you
Yeah.
end up
So
at the TEDx
I
talk?
say that again.
How did you then end up at the TEDx talk?
Well, yeah, I kept doing my, I was doing my business. I had some programs. I was helping people craft talks and going along. And I was working, and certainly I was like, yeah, as a speaking coach and a speaker, like I liked getting on stage and speaking, and I knew I was an impactful speaker.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, one day I'll do a TEDx talk. And that felt like a down the road thing. Like one day I'm going to be a different person and I'll give a TEDx talk. One day I really will be an expert. Like, yeah, I can speak. I'm pretty good, but one day and that was totally a down the road thing. And then I was actually in a program with a coach I was working with, and her high level clients, she invited her higher level clients to speak at her event.
Uh-huh.
She was leading a public event and she invited her clients to speak to give a TED style talk.
Uh-huh.
And I procrastinated because I often still I face plant in my old story of I have nothing to say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I've already said everything. I have nothing to say. What am I going to do? And I just stayed in the soup and stayed in the process and in the kind of creative unfolding. And again, very last minute, the talk revealed itself to me. And I remember I got there and I she was a little disappointed that I was still working on my talk because she was going to be on the line here, and I was like, "Don't worry, I got this. I got this." Anyway, I gave a talk at her event, and it was it was awesome. It was dynamite. It was definitely the people were very moved and were very I don't know what to say, just loved it. The talk was very well received. It was very well received. And I said afterwards, I was like, is this a TEDx talk? And she said, yeah, yeah. So I was like, oh my God, so then I applied. I just applied to a few TEDx's and I got accepted. And it was like, all of a sudden I'm giving a TEDx talk, doing this thing that was totally a down the road thing, a totally one day thing.
Yeah.
One day I'll be enough to give a TEDx talk.
Right.
But actually, I'm already enough.
Yeah. That damn story. And that's the
Yeah.
funny thing. I get just because you overcome it once doesn't mean it's like one and done, right? It's like it's going to come around again because we've got those well-worn ruts in our brain and in our habitual thinking
Yeah.
that tell us that thing. But you, like you said, you stayed in the soup, you stayed in the process.
Yeah.
So important. That's really cool. That's a great takeaway. I'm noting that one back in my head.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
staying in the curiosity and stay and in the not knowing,
Mm-hmm.
in the not knowing. That's been huge for me is to really lean into the not knowing. that
Yeah.
it's not a linear process. And when you can really be present with not knowing, and present with the mystery, and present with the mess, a little bit messy, and really showing up for that without judgment,
Mm.
without making it a problem,
Mm-hmm.
without making it wrong, just really meeting it, that's when it transforms. It's going to transform, and it's going to open up to the gold.
Love that. Just gonna let
Yeah.
the silence fall in for a second. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So, wow, what a journey. And then, so you, how old are you now? 50,
57.
57.
Yeah.
So 7 years in business, right?
I think 49. I think I started at 49. I think it was the year
Yeah.
of my 50th birthday. Because I think it's been long. I think it's been 8 years.
Mm-hmm. What, so on like switching from speaker to business person, that whole marketing and sales and building the business and keeping a pipeline going and all that stuff. Whew, I know. I wish you guys could see Johanna right now. She's just like the look on her face. Um, so what challenges have you faced in that arena, and what have you learned about yourself in facing those challenges? That's just a little question.
Yeah, I've learned so much. I've learned so much. It's been, I often say it's been the best therapy. The best, just like, it has expanded me in ways I'm not sure I wanted to be expanded, but I've learned so much. I have a friend that I do yoga practice with every morning. We just started doing yoga every morning at 6. I
Uh-huh.
live in a co-housing community, and we became pals and started doing yoga. And
Nice. It's
she's
nice to have a
new.
partner. That keeps you going, right? That's cool.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She is relatively new in business, and I've been sort of coaching her in the mornings because she's trying to build a business as a writing workshop leader and coach. And so I've been, and I just I just like, oh, wow, I really know my stuff. I really know what I'm talking about, and she's just like, like, oh, she wants the goods. She wants the information. She wants and there's so much that I have to share. So it's been really fun to be support for her
Yeah.
and really recognize how much I know and how much I've learned about marketing and sales. And sometimes I feel like I get a little caught in marketing and sales and forget about what I'm actually doing,
Mm-hmm.
about the work I want to be doing, so it's always finding a balance. But I feel like what I've learned, what can I say? It's really learning that marketing is about visibility and building relationships. So
Mm.
much
That
about
makes
building
me think
relationships.
of your visibility challenge that you're doing
Yeah.
right now. So, okay. So you've got this visibility challenge for how many days?
30 days.
30 days. And are you doing a video every day or just something every day? You have to.
Just, well, I'm doing the commitment is to do a story every day,
Mm-hmm.
an Instagram story. And just for me to kind of take off the preciousness. Social media has been an edge for me. Like, I love being on stage. I can be on stage in front of 500 people and be fine and come alive and
Yeah.
connect with that audience and feel, you feel the energy in the room. Even virtually, I feel like I can still make that connection and find that energy. I know who I'm speaking to. I know why they're there. They're there for a reason. They're there because they want to hear me. I've been positioned as an expert, as an authority, so something is different about that. But on social media, it's like you're just putting stuff out into the void, into this
Yeah.
black hole.
So
You're
weird.
you're a slave to the algorithm. and who knows who's going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find it so vulnerable and confusing. I've really wrestled with my relationship with social media. And now, especially since COVID, that all my programs are online, it's like I have an online business. I have to be visible on social media. So I
Yeah.
get kind of hung up there. I have gotten kind of hung up there, and I decided to, um, do this challenge and just post a story, at least a story every day, just to kind of just put stuff out and not be so obsessed about making it perfect and what are people going to think and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started making reels on Instagram, which is fun. It's fun and creative. So it's like, all right, and I'm just putting stuff out, and I can't tell yet. I don't know yet how much return, if it's going to give me the kind of return I need. And like where I really want to be putting my energy is getting on stages and speaking. I still want to be my main marketing,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
But oh shit.
It's okay. You can edit that out. So you want the stages to be your main marketing.
Yeah, I still want stages to be my main marketing, but I also have to have this, social media is a stage, and it's like I'm I'm saying I have to have this, and I guess I'm still asking that question: is how much do I have to be on social media?
Right. Yeah. Oh, I struggle with it all the time. Definitely, it's a struggle.
Yeah,
How far into it are you now?
the 30 days.
Yeah.
I think like 10 days, 10 or
So you're
11 days. I
still
kind of
early
stopped
in.
counting because already it's a habit.
Oh,
Already I'm just
that's
like, it's not a big deal.
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've already crossed the border from this is terrifying. What the heck am I
I'm
doing?
taking a picture now to post in my stories.
I love it. That's so fun. So all of a sudden, guys, I just looked at I do my interviews over Zoom. So Johanna and I are sitting here on Zoom, and all of a sudden she picks up her phone and she's pointing it at her computer screen to take our photo for her thing. So I just wanted to explain that, the visual. I love that. So you're only 10 days in and you're already like comfortable, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing? Isn't
Yeah.
that
I'll tell you
amazing?
where I'm not yet comfortable. This is my
Uh-huh.
next edge, is
Uh-huh.
doing lives.
Oh, girl.
Doing lives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have not gone there.
Yeah.
No, and
Yeah.
haven't gone there. I will say that, um, I started pushing myself. I didn't do a 30-day challenge like an everyday thing. I just haven't. But I was like, okay, you need to try some video, try it. This is before doing the speaking thing with you. That was just like a
Uh-huh.
hurdle I knew I needed to get
Uh-huh.
past.
Uh-huh.
And the first times that I did it, I really thought about what am I going to say? I wrote it out. I took, I don't know how many takes. Like, oh, no, that wasn't, no, oh, that looks stupid. That. And, and now when I kind of have a general idea in my head of where I want to go with it. And I, I'm like, it's just not as precious anymore. I'm just like, I might say something that comes off as stupid or uninformed or
Yeah.
not woke or whatever judgment anybody might want to pass on what I have to say, but I'm learning that, and I think this is part of what I'm learning about even thinking about becoming a speaker is, like you said, what do I have to say? For me, it was always, okay, like give me a script, somebody else's words, a rehearsal process, or even my own words in a rehearsal process, maybe. And I can talk, but I always feel a little um like I get lost in the sauce. Oh, squirrel. And then my thought process just goes whoosh, and I don't even remember what my point was, and so terrified to speak in public. And the other thing that would happen to me is if I was speaking about something I really cared about, it would make me cry.
Mm.
And it still kind of happens. It still happens. I'm a crier, but you know, less so. And it's so freeing to get past that I'm like, it's so much bigger than this whole social media bugaboo. Like, I'm very conflicted about social media in general, but what I've learned about myself in pushing through that, like you said, staying in the sauce, is kind of incredible. Have you?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so who knows what your return on investment is going to be for doing this 30 days, right? But
Right.
the journey to yourself and what you're finding out about yourself is going to be,
Right.
I can't wait to
Yeah.
hear about
Yeah.
it after 30
So I
days
know
and beyond.
that there's value in that,
Yeah.
and then I get to decide if it's valuable, if it's how I want to spend my time,
Right.
and if it's valuable to my business, and
Mm-hmm.
if it continues to be valuable for me, and certainly if it continues to be valuable for my audience. It's not
Right.
just about me; it's about my audience.
Yeah.
So, and I'm still working with video. I'm the same way with video. Is if I can't do the lives, but if I post video, if I make a video and post it, oh my gosh, when I first started doing some videos, I would do 50 takes. It would take me
Mm-hmm.
hours to put 1 3-minute video out because I did so many takes,
Yeah.
so many takes. And now I can get it down to, maybe 3 or 4 takes.
Yeah.
But still, I can't do the lives.
I am with
So,
you. Oh my gosh.
oh my
Maybe we need to
gosh, it's
challenge
crazy.
ourselves, Johanna, to do, maybe we should do a live together at some
Yeah.
point. I don't know. I don't know what. Here I am just throwing stuff out in the world.
That's
Um,
actually what somebody just suggested to me. I was talking about my fear of doing lives, and they said, get on with somebody else and just talk to them.
that would be so much easier, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to
yeah,
talk after this.
yeah.
I don't know what we talk about, but whatever.
And also, like, I don't watch lives. I don't watch them.
I don't either. But sometimes I'll go back and watch somebody's live, but I generally don't go. I'm not usually in an audience for a live thing.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So, and it's always scary. It's like, is anybody going to show up? What if I'm just there talking to myself? That's awkward. Isn't
Yeah,
it? So here you are, you did this incredible journey. Like, I I guess the takeaway that I'm getting from everything is that whole idea of just being open and curious and being aware of what your story is and recognizing it as a story and allowing yourself to move through it, you know,
yeah,
or
yeah. I think
pushing
it's
yourself
showing.
to move through it.
Yeah, it's showing up. It's showing up for the discomfort, and I think that's true for so many people. For so many people who come my way, I love getting to support them in being present with the discomfort,
Yeah.
because speaking brings up uncomfortable, for many people it brings up uncomfortable feelings because it puts us up against our old stories, and
Yeah.
that can be profoundly uncomfortable. You just get to really show up for being human, show up for all that it presents itself. And I feel like sometimes when, I don't know, the older we get or the wiser we get or the more we trust the ground that we walk on,
Mhm.
and the
Mhm.
more we trust our resources, like my inner resource, my community resource, the more that I trust there, the more room there is for the harder stuff to show itself, and for the deeper layers of my consciousness to reveal themselves. And so being able to show up for that is where transformation happens.
Wow.
And I think doing that so having some container, the container creates the safety that creates space for the deeper stuff to show. That's why we can't do this work alone. We can't do anything alone. Why do anything alone?
Yeah, I am finally beginning to learn that lesson. I've always tended to do things solo,
Mm,
except for theater, but
yeah,
but um I am finding how much power there is in trusting your community and in partnering and working together with people to
yeah,
towards something. How much more, again, going back to being in your class, there was a schedule, so there was that, there was a date on the calendar, so there was that, but there was huge power in being going through the program with 7 other people and watching them struggle, just like I was, gave me the feeling of not being alone.
mm-hmm.
And watching them have aha moments, and how much you learn from watching somebody else struggle through a question, and how much that can inform your own work.
Yeah, yeah,
Incredible, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So gosh, the time just flies. Like, we should do a live. I don't know, maybe we
I
could
know we should.
something like this. But what are you excited about? What's next? What's happening next?
I'm I'm doing this series. I don't know when. What's happening right now is I'm launching Craft Your Talk again.
Uh-huh.
I'm launching Craft Your Talk again, and I'm doing a series of free workshops. I'm calling them workshops, not webinars, because I'm doing some interactive stuff. I'm really getting people to workshop their ideas. So that's
Yeah.
what's really fun for me, and I think that's really valuable for people. So that's I'm doing these free workshops to share, to invite people into Craft Your Talk.
And
I'm
when are
excited
you
about that.
starting the next cohort of that? When is
Mid
that?
October, mid
Mid-October.
October, and the
Okay.
free workshops are late September, early October.
Okay, great. So I will get
Yeah.
that information in show notes for people. So if anybody's interested in stretching your wings, are you thinking about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my, I highly recommend it. Um, so okay, so you've got the workshops coming up, and then the new thing. Anything else?
Well, the other thing this is sort of my story slam project that I host the story slam in Boulder.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this. This was a sort of a door that opened during COVID after George Floyd was murdered. I wanted to use that platform to tell stories about race. And
Mm.
so I was like, I don't want to just hand the mic. Normally there's a theme for the month. Normally there's a theme for the night. People put their name in the hat. I don't vet the stories. If your name gets picked, you come to the stage and tell a story. And I didn't want to do that with race. I was like, I don't want to just hand the mic to people and say, here, tell a story about race. That felt like it could be, just
That could go.
not,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
could go south. It could
Yeah,
be.
that could get tricky. Yeah.
I was like, I really want to do that with more mindfulness and intention. So I gathered a group of people, a mixed race group of people, to come together and develop stories around race. And what
Wow.
happened was everybody fell in love. It was an
Ah,
exploration. It was a 7, 8 week exploration, digging into stories about race and identity. Who am I and how do I show up in the world? And it was and a lot of story sharing among people, between people. That was when I started storytelling partnerships that we did in Craft Your Talk. We did the engagement partnerships where you
yeah.
connect with one person.
Yeah,
And
that
I
was
did that
amazing.
in the story workshop. And it was just like the relationships that got built and the web that was woven to create safety for really deep stories to be told. And then we did a show where each person got to tell a story, and it was so powerful. And we did it again, and now we're doing it again this fall.
Wow.
So another round of that, and it's been such, like, that's work. It's just like, I love that work. I love that work where stories are really about building relationships and showing our humanity to one another. So I'm excited about that. I'm wanting to find other venues, other ways to do that work, because
are
I think
those do you stream them? Are they available to watch online?
The final show, yeah.
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 Great. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll have to keep me posted on that so I can.
Okay. Yeah.
Or if you have dates.
This one will be November 7th.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure. So yep, I'll have to take some notes after we stop recording. Okay. Remind me, and I'll put some notes to myself for things to put into the show notes, so that if anybody's interested in checking that out, because that sounds really great. Wow, Johanna, thank you. Thank you. I learned so much from working with you, and I really feel like we've become friends. And thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before we go, how can people find you?
They can do my assessment. I've created an assessment. It's called the Confident Speaker Quiz.
Oh, cool.
And it's just a series of questions that kind of lays out the pieces: marketing or mindset, content, delivery, and marketing for stepping onto stage, stepping into thought leadership. So it kind of looks at some of the key points. So it's a great assessment to take. And then I send you results based on, or next steps based on your quiz results. So that's at confidentspeakerquiz.com.
Very cool. And your website is Johanna Walker Speaking?
Website is johannawalker.com.
Johanna Walker, it's just your name. Okay, great.
Yeah, and I'm on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. Watch my stories and my reels. Johanna Walker Speaking.
They're very fun. Yeah.
I'm also on LinkedIn. So, find me on social media.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to get all those links available for people. Again, thank you. What a hoot. And who knows? Maybe there'll be a Facebook Live to come soon, people. Maybe we'll both break our cherry.
Yes.
All right. Oh, a nice way to end it, isn't it? I don't know. Maybe should I edit that out? I don't know.
It's all right. We're in our 50s. We can do whatever we want.
That's right. All righty. Well, how's that for an ending? Oh my goodness gracious. We're all adults here, right? Except for maybe me. Anyway, there you have it. That was fun. Johanna Walker. Wow. She's such a great example of what's possible when you change the story you're telling yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. I love how transparent and candid she is about her journey and about what she's learned about herself as she's taken on the task of growing her business. Hey, I have some exciting news. I want you to know that after I talked to Johanna, I decided to take her on as my first ever affiliate, which means that if you sign up for her paid program using the link on my website, I will receive a commission. I'm so proud and happy to partner with her, and I feel really good about recommending her to you because I found her program to be transformational. I mean, I started the program with a tiny little seed of an idea that she helped me to shape into a talk that I'm so proud of. I'm even doing the research right now to find a Tedx Talk to submit to where I think it would be a good fit. You really have no idea how amazed I am that those words are coming out of my mouth right now. So, I have a question for you. Have you ever entertained the idea of speaking in front of an audience to either grow your client base or to put some big idea of yours out into the world? If so, I would encourage you to sign up for Johanna's free online class September 29th. You can check her out there. I did her free class before I signed up for her paid program, and I will tell you that I got a lot of value out of that free class. It was very interactive and filled with useful information, not your standard hard sell webinar. No hard sell. I really hate those. I also hate the bait and switch ones. Anyway, by the way, if you can't make it on September 29th, she'll be offering it again on September 30th, October 5th, and October 6th. So you'll have plenty of chances to catch it live and check her out. She's the real deal, folks. I'll have a link where you can sign up for it in the show notes. You can just go to latebloomerliving.com/podcast and click on the show notes for episode 65. Also, I would be more than happy to answer any questions you might have about her program. So always feel free to email me at latebloomerliving@gmail.com, and that goes for any questions or any feedback at all. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a fantastic week. Stay safe and well. Talk soon.